Good morning. Just got to Cesky Krumlov from Prague, 3-hour journey by bus. Gonna check out this wonderful city and hopefully do some rafting. So here we are in what I believe is the city center square. This is likely where we're going to meet up for our tour later, our free walking tour. It's cool. It's really small.
Very nice. Yeah.
Are you going to do any of the museums, like the Capitol?
What we just found out is that this square, 11 months out of the year, is called Náměstí Svornosti. 1 year out of the month. In May they change it to the Kissing Square. Forgot how it's said in Czech. And so people get confused. And this building is one of the oldest structures here. That was the coat of arms. There's a coat of arms in the corner with a head, a severed head with a bird picking at its eyes. The story is that it's a Turkish head from one of the battles that was severed and a bird was eating it. Alright, we're gonna move to somewhere else now.
Important and most public family in Krumlov history. They rebuilt the castle and the town from Gothic to Grand Renaissance style later, and during their rule, Krumlov was the second most important center after Prague from whole kingdom of Bohemia, economical and cultural center. But later Rosenbergs were spending so much money taking loans and the empire became too big, so last ruler of Rosenbergs, Peter Vogt, couldn't handle it anymore. So in 1601 he had to sell this town and this castle to pay for all the loans. So he sold it to Habsburg Emperor Rudolf II, but Rudolf II he never came here. He had so many castles, Prague, Vienna, Budapest, so he didn't take care of Cesky Krumlov too much, and after a few years his family gave this town to family Eggenbergs.
So we just found out that a lot of the first houses here were built in the 12-somethings, 13th century, and that in 1992 this was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in 1991, after the Velvet Revolution, when they started selling the properties in the main center where we just were, the center square, houses there were going for $2,000 or less, or a little bit more. Now they're worth $2 million at the minimum.
And there is old Eggenberg Brewery, and they produce Eggenberg smoked beer. If you want to order that in place in the town, I will tell you the Czech name, the name of the beer. So listen carefully. It's called Nakouřený švihák.
Nakouřený švihák.
I'll say it one more time. Nakouřený, it means smoked or also drunk in slang, and švihák is something like a gentleman. So it's smoked or drunk gentleman, that's the name of the beer. But if you just say Eggenberg smoked beer or smoked beer, everybody in the town would understand. And you can get it in every 4th, 5th place in the town, it's pretty common. But don't look for the beer here, because this is not brewery anymore. Today most of this building serves as a municipal library. Yeah, the scariest. Because in the 15th century, Latin school was established there. It would prepare you for university. Later in the 16th century, the building was again rebuilt from Gothic to Renaissance, like everything around the town. And since 1780, it has been music school there. And one day, Jesuit monk got very angry with his student and few times hit him with a pointer. It was normal to treat students like this in those times, but this time it was too much, because the student died in the classroom. Oh. So his mother couldn't cope with the death of a lovely son, the only family member she had, so she execrated the monk. She did some magic on him, and the monk died within a year. And since that time they say this house has been haunted. And as time went on, many magicians came to try to evict unhappy soul from the building, but with their magic, the opposite thing happened, even more ghosts came. Because it has been still school, it's one of the oldest music schools in Europe still in operation. In last about 100 years, many teachers tried to spend the night in the building, just to know, and all of them, even those who didn't believe in ghosts before, they said that there is something weird, they heard some noises, moving furniture, somebody breathing behind them, but there was no one. So they knew all those information before, so maybe the fantasy was working. But who knows, right? So if you guys are looking for some adrenaline experience from the town, you maybe can try to spend the night in this building. But there is no any accommodation, the whole building is only school. So the only way would be to sign up for some class and wait for the night when they lock you there. The beautiful method of the facade decorations in the town, those are Renaissance paintings, painted directly into wet plaster. So when they build the building, and the wall is still wet, they paint it, and the color seeps inside very deep. It becomes part of the wall, part of the plaster. That's the reason why it can last there for centuries. This is of course after few restorations, but originally this is the second half of the 16th century. And in that time, when rich inhabitants of the town wanted to show off their wealth, they painted house just like this. And this house belonged to man, listen carefully, Jakub Krčín from Jelčany and Sedlčany. Say it one more time slower. It's even worse than the beer, right? Jakub, the first name, Krčín, the last name, and Jelčany and Sedlčany, the place he was from. So this man worked for Rosenbergs. He built farms, mills, breweries, everything for the lords. But what made him really famous is the fact that he established new economical branch, fish breeding. So in the 16th century, many fish ponds were dug in this region, and South Bohemian carp was distributing to whole Europe. Carp is our traditional fish for Christmas dinner. I know in most of your countries you don't eat carp too much, right? Especially Australia or US or Canada. Can you guys see the man in the window right here? That's the man I was talking about when he was older. In the window beside him, you can see his wife. Do you know which one, or do you have any guess? No? The second one. The second one when she was older. There is another man above Jakub, but this man doesn't have any name. They call him random guy, because they actually don't know who he is. But they say that he is the most curious man of the town, because he's been looking out of the window for more than 400 years, every day, even every night, just like this. So that's why. And in the last window, you can see monkeys smoking pipe. This is something like a local sense of humor of the 16th century. They painted to make people smile. But time to time you can hear from some of the historians that they would say that the monkey symbolizes the first wife. In the 16th century, this huge house belonged to only one man, to the famous alchemist Antonín Michael of Ebersbach. And during the time, this town was ruled by Wilhelm of Rosenberg. That's the man who joined two towns together. And Wilhelm of Rosenberg was a great lover of art and science. He was supporting alchemists in their search for elixir of youth and the philosopher's stone, and of course gold. But this time Wilhelm needed something special. He was about to marry his fourth wife and still didn't have any children, anybody who would take the castle and the town after him, the ruling power. So he asked Antonín Michael if he can prepare for him special elixir to be able to have kids. He said, of course, no problem, it will be very expensive, but I can do it for you. So the day after the wedding, the elixir was prepared, Wilhelm drank it, and for a wonder, nothing happened. Not even a year after the wedding, Wilhelm died without any children. So next ruler of the town, his younger brother, Peter Bock, didn't have too much sympathy for this alchemist. He took him, put him into jail, and confiscated all his property, including the house right here. So if you guys hear this story, you maybe think that all alchemists were bad. Some of them, yes, of course. They try to take money from the castle for nothing, for just acting that they do some useful research. But many of them, it was very important part of 16th century science. Like chemistry, pharmacy, everything came from alchemy. So if some historian would hear us, he would say, do not mess with the word alchemy, because it was very important. But not this man. He was kind of foxy alchemist. He was a Frausser from Belgium who came to Krumlov and ended up here. The only remnant after him is the stone entrance portal. It's original. It was made special for him in the second half of the 16th century in Saxony in Germany and brought to Krumlov. There is only one like this in the town, because this is not typical for local architecture. This is typical for the place it was made. Latran was there and this bridge was connecting. So there used to be two guarding gates here guarding the medieval towns. But when the towns joined together, they destroyed the gates because they didn't need them anymore. But much earlier, about 800 years ago, we wouldn't walk here like this, doing sightseeing, taking pictures, because there was no castle, no town, and this place was just deep, dangerous forest. But it was also important trade road between Austria and Czech inland, because the river wasn't deep here, so the horses could go through water with carts. But band of brigands, band of bandits, they had hideout on the rocky cliff, and they attacked and robbed every single trade wagon passing through the countryside. But of course not forever, because one day heroic knight Vitek came, discovered the hideout and burned it to ground and killed all the brigands. And after that, he built invincible castle on exactly same place to forever guard the Vltava river cross. This is old story about founding the town and founding Krumlov and the castle. But because I told you it's about 800 years old, it's not recorded anywhere, so it's like 50% true, 50% legend. Which is very unusual for the town. First look at almost to the top. You can see two little windows there, can you see? It looks like they are opened, but it's just painted. Because in the 16th century, they like to paint illusion, they wanted to impress you, make you think about it. Is it real, is it just painted? You can see many examples around the castle. But now guys, look at the symbol between two windows down here. There is hand holding something like a hammer and piece of white cloth. This is symbol of cloth dyers. Do you know who are cloth dyers? The people who color the cloth, and other people would buy it and make some fancy dress from it. Okay? So in the 16th century, the cloth dyers used to live and work here in this street, many of them. People like it, they were shopping here a lot. But one day, merchants started to import expensive dyed cloth from England. And it became very fashionable in the town, so no one was buying anything from the local dyers anymore. So they didn't know what to do, how to solve the situation. So all of them from the street put their heads together and they worked out crazy plan. They dyed huge quantity of cloth in the workshops in Cesky Krumlov, transported all to England, then put mark of English dyers on every single piece. They got all the papers they needed, paid the fees and duties, and then took it back to Krumlov as genuine English good. And they sold it with a very fat profit to the local inhabitants who had no idea about anything. But it wasn't a happy ending for them, because the fraud was soon discovered and all of them ended up in jail. So after this story, you can tell that 16th century business methods are not so different from 21st century, right?
Yeah.
One guy on the tour told me that there is one big difference, that today it's called re-export and no one ends up in jail. But still we have to tell that those dyers were very clever, because they widened the entrance, can you see? So they could go in with a special card carrying the cloth on it to the workshop.
Hans, wir kommen gleich.
I'll tell you, okay? So you remember I told you about Rosenberg family, the most powerful family. So they always wanted to look very noble. And number one nobility was in Prague, so they always copied Prague. When they built big castle stairs in Prague, they built them in Krumlov to keep with them. When they built big St. Vitus church in Prague, they built it in Krumlov to keep with them. And to look even more noble, Rosenberg said they were relatives to family Orsini from Italy. Because it was very noble family, some of the members were even popes in Rome. And Orsini, it's from the word orso. And in Italian language, orso means bear. So to look more connected to the family Orsini, to show the family connections, Rosenbergs decided to keep alive bears in the Krumlov castle in the second half of the 16th century. So the bears have been here more than 400 years. Not those ones, of course.
I was going to say, what, did they...
So we're on our way to the second castle courtyard.
Time it was just massive cylindrical tower from stones without any decoration. But today, because of the design, this tower is getting many nicknames. The wedding cake, the birthday cake. And my favorite one is the one from Czech writer, Karol Čapek. He said that this is the most towery tower from all the towers in the world. Should be symmetrical, in right angles, and they like to paint illusion. So first look at behind me. You can see windows on the right, windows in the middle, but no windows on the left side, because from inside it wasn't possible to build them. But from outside it was a big problem for Renaissance, because it wasn't symmetrical at all. So they solved it like this. They painted the windows. That's why you see another one right below, another one right opposite. Many times people ask me, especially people from England, if they painted the windows because of the window tax. You know, in England they used to have to pay taxes from windows. So people would rebuild them and paint them not to pay it. But it didn't happen in Cesky Krumlov. There is more than 50 painted windows around the town, and all of them from the Renaissance times to make it as symmetrical as possible. At the end of the tour I will show you one window. It took me almost 6 months to realize that there is painted window when I moved here. It looks very painted, and it's in long line of real windows. So if you don't pay attention, you miss that. You will tell me it's very easy to find, because I told you. But believe me, if you didn't know, you would probably just walk by.
Okay, so we're now leaving the third courtyard and heading into the fourth.
Yes, I did. Because if you talk, it brings bad luck. You remember the story about Marketa? She was thrown from the window. It's one of the windows around this side of the castle or behind the corner. They don't know exactly which window it was, but what they know is that she landed somewhere here and she survived because of the tree. But then she didn't survive, so people believe that her soul is still around. So you should be quiet for her peace. But not only her soul, because this bridge is also known for numerous suicides. In the last 20 years, 8 people made suicide here. You can tell it's really high, right?
So we're done with our walking tour. It was about an hour and a half long, 2 to 3:30, and we started from a little bit around that church. I'd say probably closer in the center there, and we came up the bridge all the way through the castle and then up there. We ended up tipping 150 krona each person. We thought that was fine since we don't know what the original price of the tour was, but yeah, it was great. Hopefully get my feet wet just a little bit and then start to head out. So we found out from our guide these bears have been here for 400 years. Not these specific bears, but just in general. They've had them in